I don't understand. I don't get it. Why do some people do so good? Why can't I do good? Is it because I'm dumb? What am I doing wrong? What's wrong is you don't have a system. People that are crushing it have systems, and these systems are complex. Look, think of nature. Nature is a system. Things are in balance. The food chain, the cycle of life, the way that a river moves, and the mushroom system underneath the ground picks that up and then feeds certain insects, which then feed certain trees. And then the tree grows, and then the leaves fall down. Then the leaves compost, and everything grows, and we have an animal, and there's a food chain within the animals. Why don't you have a system in your own life? In what world could you possibly be getting incredible results if you don't have a system? And this is what I learned as far as getting better socially. I was able to understand how to get better socially, whether it's your dating life, networking, meeting people, making friends. I was able to understand that you have to have a system for that. And what that would mean is everything from getting ready to going out to opening up the funnel of giving people an opportunity to meet you, giving them little doses in an appropriate manner of what would be your personality, letting them get a sense of that, giving them the opportunity to invest in that, giving further opportunities to meet each other, meeting people in larger groups, bringing that down to smaller groups, and maybe even having intimacy. That's a system. If you don't have that, your results are going to be completely sporadic. Well, those systems exist anywhere in your life. But see, here's the problem. Most of us aren't taught to think that way. We're taught with these bizarre, socially conditioned myths that things are just going to happen. Let me ask you a question. Who does that benefit? Who does it benefit to think it's just going to work out? Who does it benefit to say, just keep doing it how you've been doing it? Just keep being yourself, and it's all going to work out, and it's going to be just fine. Just keep going to work, putting in your work at your little job, and be a good boy or girl. Just be a good little boy or girl, and it's going to be fine. Don't worry about building a system. Nothing in the universe was ever built on a system. That's what you've been told. Who benefits from that? People with systems. People who want to put you in their system. If you don't have a plan for your life, then somebody else does. You're going to be put in their system. And that's fine. I'm in many systems. I enjoy being a part of those systems. Many of the systems that I'm in, that you're in, benefit us, but many of them don't. And the bigger problem is when you have not begun to cultivate your own system. But the problem is you've never been taught to think in this way. Why not? Why didn't the public education system teach you to think in this way? I wonder. They must have just forgot to leave it off the curriculum. What a coincidence. The most important thing, the thing that everybody who's crushing it understands. But there's also another reason. Let me be honest with you. The truth is that most people don't even resonate energetically with the type of education that would change their lives. I know this because very simply, if I go explain this to the average person on the street, they'll start to block it out. Now, in an earlier preview video, we also explained that it's dopamine addiction. They're addicted to a certain chemical in the brain that they get from feeling like they already understand how the world works. So what's going to happen here is you're going to have to lose a little bit of dopamine and start to think about what it means to build a system. And in building the system, there are universal principles that we see in nature, that we see in anything man-made that's really successful, and that in many ways, in my mind, and this is subjective, I can't prove this, but to me, is the way that we get closer to God. And that's a crazy statement, and you don't need to believe in that or go down that kind of loaded language. But to me, what we see in the physical world is this beautiful system. And when we architect a system from a place of wanting to be win-win and making the world better, that is such a profound experience. The fact that you'll make a lot of money or have an incredible dating life or be happier or travel the world or everything's just going to go better, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's the icing on the cake. Let's go with that. The profound aspect of this is really living to your potential, waking up, seeing how the world works, and living a life that is closer to authenticity. So what we're going to be doing right now is going into a preview video where we'll be covering the themes of my upcoming live event that I'm going to be running in big cities and having my team run in big cities all over the world. But I want you to keep in mind, at the live event that this video is going to show a preview of the themes of, we're going to be doing exercise work. It's going to be transformative. So it's not going to be watch Owen go on a rant. This video is going to be watch Owen go on a rant. But the purpose of that is just to get you thinking more deeply about systems in general. In person, what we're going to do is what's called transformation work. And that's a lot more painful and really a lot more of a metamorphosis than watching a video on YouTube. But nonetheless,
what you're going to learn here is going to be very, very powerful and probably about the most powerful thing that you could be watching today. So what I want you to do is anticipate signing up and meeting with me or my team or both in person at this new upcoming live event. I want you to click the link below and see what dates are available. I want to meet you in person and work with you. And then in the meantime, just watch this video, let the ideas marinate about systems, and think about how meeting in person, we could begin to architect those together. I'd love to hold you by the hand, take you through the process, make it easy for you, make it fun, but also challenge you to come up with systems that could make your life so much better. So sign up for the event. I'm very excited to see you there. But in the meantime, just let this marinate and enjoy. What you'll find is that in life, if there's not a boundary that exists, other people will take advantage of that boundary. Well, what is the single most important thing of having a boundary? It's having lead generation. Lead generation equals boundary. If you don't have other people in your life that could fulfill that same role, you will not have a boundary. Look, this is kind of funny. My video editor, who's not here tonight, he'll be back at my crib editing. I've said this before in a seminar, and he laughed at it. Even in a business, if you don't have backup hires, you will get needled and pressed for so many raises that are outrageous. And my video editor, I didn't have a lead editor. He's going to see this. And literally, I think he pressed me for like 50,000 extra a year. And I had to say yes, because I'd spent years training him. I would never have normally. Now, this guy's amazing. I love you, bro. I love this guy. He's going to see this. He's going to be like, you fucker, you know? But, you know, he'll see this. He'll be like, man, come on, dude. Like, what are you saying? But the thing is, literally, he could ask me that. When you don't have someone to replace somebody else, they can ask you for anything. I have friends of mine whose wives, usually they had the power initially, and then the wife sees that they're kind of vulnerable, and their wives will just destroy them. And I've seen it with husbands that have done this to female friends of mine. One of my buddies right now, his wife used to love him to death, good buddy of mine. And it got to the point where she kind of wants to leave him. And so what he's doing is he's going and he's trying to get her to take him back. And he's completely obsessed with trying to get her to fully buy into the relationship again. And so I'll say to him, I'll be like, hey man, how's it going with so-and-so? And he's like, oh, not good. I'm like, what do you mean not good? He's like, yeah, she's just, you know, I think she'll never get over this. I really blew it, man. She'll never get over this. Here's the problem there. I want you to say the word with me. Say the word gravity. Say that. Gravity. Okay, so what gravity means is that when you work on yourself, rather than continually feeding into somebody else, what winds up happening is there's more gravity and it holds the structure together. You have to have gravity. If my friend would go back to the gym, not because she needs him to be in the gym, but because she'd see him going to the gym and be like, what are you going to the gym for? He's like, I'm just really passionate about it. That's your answer. Just say you're passionate about it. Don't say like, I want you to love me. That's going to totally defeat the purpose. Just say, I love going to the gym, right? Then maybe go out to a bar together. Go talk to a bunch of people. Let her visually see all these other women that are into him. Then do things that makes him truly happy. Go hang out with friends. Have a fun time. Double down on work. Make more money. I'll tell you a really messed up one. Honestly, just go get a bright colored shirt. I'm telling you, like at like, if you're a younger person, you get a bright colored shirt, that makes very little difference. But if you're like a 45-year-old couple and you go get some neon pink shirts, she's gonna wake up. Like, why are you wearing that? What's that pink shirt for? My buddy Jesse, he has a significant other, and I got him to get these gold-colored this Kith collab gold-colored Ultra Boosts. And she sees him wearing the gold Kith-colored Ultra Boosts, and she hates those shoes, right? Why does she hate the gold Kith collab Ultra Boosts? What do you think? Because she knows that other women are going to be staring at these Ultra Boosts. Is some woman really going to go hook up with my friend because he wore gold Ultra Boosts, or my other friend because he wore a pink shirt? No. But it just puts that little seed in her mind, and then it gets her interested. My friend, what he's trying to do is he's basically losing the gravity, right? It's like he's expanding, and it's all kind of falling apart. And it's like who he is falling apart. Now, the key word here, say it after me, opportunity cost. Say that. Opportunity cost. So those hours that he's putting mental capital, emotional capital, thought energy, time energy into her, to make her love him again. It's skewing the dynamic between the two of them in a negative way. It's making her act worse and worse, which therefore makes him have to compensate more and more. And then when he compensates more and more, he has less and less time while he tries to placate. As he tries to placate, then what happens is his value's going down, her value's going up, and she's getting less into him. And the end of this story is always the same. And sadly, it's called the discard. Say that word with me, discard. Okay, it's the discard. I've rarely ever talked to somebody who had a significant other who tried to placate and placate and placate and placate and placate and do what they want. And then at the end, they fall in love again, and it's like it was at the start. I have seen this in business like you wouldn't believe. There have been people I've worked with where I would do anything to placate them. I mean, I'm losing sleep over it. I'm going to the ends of the earth. I'm giving them raises. I mean, I've had it where I've been 50-50 with people on things. By the end of it, it is like 95-5 for me. Like 95-5, as in I get the 5. And I'm working 3 times harder at the 5%. And if there was ever one case where that worked, and it made and I'm working more hours for that 5% than I could be doing anything else. If there was ever a case where that worked out and it was smooth, I'd suggest maybe you should do it. But it never works. Always what happens is the end of that story is they still discard you because they don't value their relationship to you. They don't put a premium on it. Meanwhile, if you took that same time and put it on building yourself and still engaging with them to an extent, there'd be, I mean, in truth, many of these situations are just predestined to be lost anyway. But if you did put the time in on yourself, that would really be your best bet. I mean, I'm sitting here approaching 40, and I can tell you from every experience I've had, I don't have a single success story of placating somebody, and then it just flips around. But I do have success stories where I said, you know what, I got to just like do my own thing here, and it completely switched the dynamic. I've had cases where I'd be dating a girl, and she just gets, you know, at first she's like a little angel, and later she's just complaining about everything, criticizing everything, and I'm doing everything to placate, and the more that I try to placate, the more she criticizes, and it's like, how did it get to this point? What have I let happen here? And then finally we'll break up, I'll be single again, I'll just start doing parties at my house, now all her friends are coming to my parties, she's seeing my parties on her Instagram story, she's seeing me having fun, I just go back to doing things for me. I start enjoying going out with my friends again. I go to the spa more. I do fun little activities with my friends. I do that, and then they always are like, hey, could we talk? And then for another good year, they're on their best behavior. Then usually I'll blow it again. But, you know, they'll be on good behavior, right? Because I did something for myself. So that's something to keep in mind here. So again, what do we come back to with this? It comes down to your lead generation funnel. Why did I have to give my video editor like $50,000 extra to cut my videos? Because, I mean, he's a lead editor, right? He's leading all the other guys, and I've taught him for years exactly how we need it done. It's a lot of little tweaks. So that being the case, I got to give him that because I don't have any other leads open. So in a business, for example, there's an actual architecture to that business. You construct the business in a very, very specific way. And part of the way that you construct it is that you always have kind of a bench of new people who you could bring in if needed. You have to have that bench. Part of why I've ignored that in my business is I get really bored doing interviews. So I can get other people to do interviews, and it works to some extent. I've had moderate success with it. But for certain things, I get bored doing it. So, and the other thing with me is like I really love people, so I often just want to double down on my existing people. Do any of you guys have that maybe with romantic partners where you love them so much you want to double down on them? Like, wouldn't you rather double down on your romantic partner than like go to the gym? Wouldn't you rather double down on your romantic partner than, you know, go out with your friends? I feel that way a lot of the time. I'm kind of needy. I love having a girlfriend. I love spending time together. So I don't necessarily want to like go to some other like guys' night with my friends. I'd rather spend time with my girlfriend. But the problem is, if you do that too much, what happens? You're totally in a mess, right? You're in a complete mess because there's no boundary. So even in your dating life, for example, if you're seeing somebody, I'd recommend still do parties. I'm not saying to cheat. I don't. I'm not saying to break an agreement. I don't. You're breaking your integrity. Very bad. When you cheat, the only person that's going to suffer is you. She's not going to suffer at all. It's going to be only you because you depleted your personal power by cheating. That being said, still talk to people, because guess what? You think there's any reality where they're not talking to people? You don't think people are running up on them? So still be social, you know? Don't become antisocial. By the way, it's not for you. Who's it for? Okay, no difference than if they're doing something that makes you attracted, right? So you want to be doing things for yourself as well, because you have to maintain that respect. And then from there, that's increasing your gravity. And then the boundaries around that is that lead generation funnel. That's why anybody who tells you that you shouldn't be out meeting new people is doing you a very severe disservice. So you always want to have some method of bringing new people into your life and having a way to meet them quickly, having some way for them to get in touch with you. But here's the main key to it. It has to be in a way that's very, very low key, low pressure, and it has to be, the other element, something that you'd be doing anyway, and something where they can leave, and something where they can flake. Okay? So here's the key. Something you'd be doing anyway. Say this with me. Something you'd be doing anyway. In fact, we'll say it as I. Something I would be doing anyway. Say that with me. Something I would be doing anyway. Something that they can flake.
Something that they can flake.
Or something that they can choose to leave.
Something they can choose to leave.
What does that do when you combine those factors? It makes it very low key. Say this with me. Low key.
Low key.
Okay, say make it low key. Okay? Low pressure, low key. You guys came here because you know at any moment you can leave. This party's happening either way. This is awesome. This is happening either way. You don't need to be here. There's people that didn't come to this. They'll see it on my Instagram story. I will post this on my Instagram story. I will get blowed up with 50 DMs going, I can't believe I'm in LA. I didn't make it. I'm so stupid. Oh, stupid. You know, and I'm just gonna laugh. And I'm not gonna respond. So basically what you have is like, I do the same thing. If I go do a talk in Seattle, what do? I put the YouTube video with me introducing that video. What's up? It's Owen. I'm sitting here in Seattle. And what we're going to do right now is shoot into a video on this topic. And when I do that, and I'll do it in just the most pie-in-the-face place in Seattle I can find. It's going to be like the Space Needle. And now, every time they're driving around and they see the Space Needle, they're going to think that they didn't make the seminar. And I'm going to silently laugh at my house that they didn't make the seminar for that last little bit of pettiness in myself that I haven't weeded out of my character yet. And I don't want to weed that last part out. We always need a touch of pettiness. It's like a dash of salt in any soup, okay? It's a human need and you have it there for a reason. So I do that so that they can feel it. I want that person in Seattle to know they blew it by not coming. I want them to feel it. And every time they see something, I want them to feel it. Same way. If I'm doing a cool event, oh man, if I did a great party, we're going to have great Instagram stories of that party. And anybody that flaked is going to see that. And they're going to realize that they had so much fun. And they missed one of the best parties of the month. They didn't come. We had fun. Didn't matter. That same person, see, now what if I'd been chasing that person? What if I'd been hoping and praying that same person would give me a little bit of attention? Now what's happening is I don't have value. I haven't done something for me. I'm doing something for them. I've lowered my value. I placed them on a pedestal. But here's the best part. I'd be fine to do that if they liked it. If I thought that they would like it, I would do it. They don't like it. It's not something they appreciate. They'll say they do. They'll say they do. Don't look at what they say. Look at their behavior of who they spend their time with. So you have to do things that are for yourself. What you basically want to have is you want to have a way to quickly meet people, okay? That's called your lead generation, a way to quickly meet people. This is for any aspect of your life. Social, could be dating, could be business. You have to be meeting people. If you're a business owner, you have to have people who you're prospecting to hire. If you're an employee, you're not really an employee. I don't believe that the word employee even exists, by the way. I think that no matter what you do, you're a business owner. You simply have one client. You think I'm really my own boss? Really? I'm a big boss. Yeah, right. I'm sitting there on my knees for every client I have, taking it and you know where. For every client. It's crazy, man. I'm bald for a reason. I'm just getting pricked up the you-know-what every freaking day by my clients and my staff, okay? It's not, I'm the boss, I answer to nobody. No, when you're a boss, you just have a bunch of clients. When you're an employee, your main client may be your boss or the people who you're serving for your boss. You're still an employee because you're still utilizing your time to generate income. So if you're an employee, you also want to have other options. If you work, for example, at a restaurant, and that restaurant is your only option that you have, guess what? When your boss treats you badly, you are panicked because you can't pay your rent. If you have other options set up that you've been applying at, ironically, that boundary will trigger your boss to treat you better. You'll get better treatment. And you know where it comes from, honestly? It's in the subtlety. It's in that kind of eye contact that you have. It's when they make that little threat or they yell at you and they kind of push the boundary. They just inch that boundary just a little bit. And you get that submissive little look in your pupil, and you look a little bit nervous about it, and you respond a little too quick. And it's like these little social subcommunications that they can tell, they can press it. And they'll press it and press it and press it. Till by the end of it, they can be screaming at you, making crazy demands of you. They don't value you. And because they don't value you and you have no other options, you have no boundary. So no matter what job you're doing, you have to have other options. Most powerful thing that you could do. Even say me and Julian are up here and we're talking about transformation mastery and saying to go sign up, it's a very different vibe when Julian knows that that thing's going to feel either way than if he was depending on that to get food for his puppy. Can you imagine the difference? Would he even be talking about it? Okay, guys, so transformation mastery. What do you think? Come on. As opposed to if he knows he's good either way. Julian's hit a point where when he does TM, he could make more money selling digital product, building his business at home. So how's that going to affect what he's talking about when he's doing a live event? It's a completely different vibe. So, I mean, let me give an example for marketing there. Let me give another example. One of the bad habits I've seen even in my company in marketing is that we will spend a year working on a product. And I mean, literally, you've got some guy who spent a year recording videos, years creating the content and getting the insight, putting it together in a package. I mean, a typical product of ours has a really high production cost on it. So you're now a couple $100,000 in the hole, or at least $100,000 in the hole, or whatever it is. Marketing costs, et cetera, et cetera. And I've seen it in my company where what we'll do, this is really stupid, I'm trying to break us out of this, is right as we finish the product and we have a deadline because we've been announcing for the release, we go shoot the sales video. How unhealthy is that to have $100,000 riding on a sale, a year's worth of work riding on a sale, and then to be recording a sales video? How unhealthy do you think that is? What do you think the vibe is like around the office when we're shooting those vibes? It is freaking terrifying, man. We are hiding our neediness with every drop we have. It's like, whoo, take 63. What's up, guys? The new thing. You're gonna love it. So, a better way, imagine if we did this. I've been telling my staff we should do this. Why don't we do a marketing thing once a week where we meet up? Maybe we watch a little bit of marketing videos from marketing teachers. There's great teachers of marketing. Watch it. And then what we do is we actually do a test drive once a week for 2 hours, the whole year of a sales video. Just do it off the cuff. Just, give a little quick outline, riff it off. Done. Do it once a week. Well, now imagine that one of those videos just comes out perfect. The vibe is right, the energy's right, the sales points you made are right. It's very persuasive. You know that this is gonna be a winning video. When I record a sales video, I know within seconds that it's a winner. Like, if I record it and I nail it, I'm like, ho, 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 ho. Like, I'm like, uh-huh. Like, I call my staff, I'm like, watch this. Posts. And it's just like, it's fun. But I also know when I don't have it. And I've learned this over the years because the numbers bear that out. You'll see the numbers. It's crazy. So that being the case, look at the difference there between doing a regular sales video versus having everything riding on one video. It's no different with meeting people. What if the only person who you're meeting is that one person? How are you going to behave? Versus if you're meeting tons of people and you've already got people in your life, how are you going to behave? But here's another thing that I think is so crucial on this topic. You don't want to be playing to where you're weak. You want to be playing to where you're strong. So if you're always modifying your personality and what you have to offer at somebody else's need, you're never going to be in your strength zone. If I was working as a mathematician right now, my income, my success, my status would be so different than doing what I do as this job. This job happens to be an aptitude for me. It happens to be an aptitude. It's kind of crazy. So because I'm doing something that's an aptitude, my life is going to look so different. Imagine if LeBron James, instead of playing basketball with the way that he's built, became an accountant, getting yelled at and shamed as this like 6'8", big jacked accountant, who messed up the books. They're like, LeBron, you messed it up again. He's like, I'm sorry. As opposed to being LeBron, who just runs the league because he's doing something that suits him. So the problem is when you're continually trying to make too many adjustments and you can't be yourself because you only have a couple options and you have to live to please and placate those options, what winds up happening is you'll never actually get to be in your strength zone. So the fact that you have to be generating leads and meeting people, what it's doing is it's freeing you up to also focus on yourself rather than all that emotional and time capital, mental capital into pleasing other people, and it gets you in your strength zone, and then you can have bigger boundaries, and guess what happens? It's a compounding effect, because when you have bigger boundaries and you're in your strength zone, more people want to do things with you. As more people want to do things with you, you have more social proof. As you have more social proof, people will line up to do things with you. Then you can command your price, then you can set the terms, and as more people go with the terms that you set and you commanded your own price, you're going into an upward spiral. So one of the things I think is so critical is to really do an audit on yourself of where in your life you're in your strength zone and where in your life you're in this kind of weird area that you're not supposed to be. And because of that, you're not able to set a boundary. Also, what are your systems for meeting new people? What is that? I understand how to meet new people very, very quickly. And the reason why is because I understand what they're thinking, and I understand what they're feeling, and I know how to engage with them. So you want to think of these systems as an engagement system, right? Like, when I think about other people, I think about initially meeting them, they don't know anything about me, they don't care to meet me, and how can I kind of give little tidbits of value to initially hook them in to want to meet me? And it's never one specific person, it's always a lot of people, because you can't go on one specific person, that's too weird, it's always a lot of people. But how can I go to an environment where there's a lot of people, give little tidbits of value to where they might want to meet me, and what's funny is that same person who wanted nothing to do with you, as they're getting little tidbits of value, and then they see your value, and then they see that you have a core to you, and they see that other people are interested, that same person's behavior will go from being disinterested to, stalking you or something. It's crazy. And that's a good thing because they're going to get more out of it, they're going to like it more. And it means also, and here's what's also funny, right? Take a relationship between you and your partner. The best relationships, in my opinion, are ones where you can invest into your partner. You want to be able to invest into them. Like, say you're going to some cool seminar, and it costs money. You want to be able to pay for them to go with you. Maybe you got a gym membership. Maybe you want to pay for their gym membership. Maybe you want to pay for them to go back to school or something like that. Maybe you want to pay for them to travel with you. Maybe you want to pay for them to get some cool clothes or something. If they're not super into you, you can't do that. To create real synergy where you can invest, you need them to be really into you. The only fetish that I have, honestly, sexually, is real desire. That's it. If I don't see genuine desire from a woman, I get out of there. But you want to know why? It's not because I need to feel loved in this. It's not like that. It's that I'm like, I can't invest into this. This is sketchy. It's a sketchy situation. I can already see the direction that it's going. The direction that it's going is they're going to get kind of weird. They're going to break boundaries. I'm going to capitulate. It's going to get worse. And then in the end, it's just the discard. So it's literally useless to be around people who don't value you. You have to be okay with being around people that value you for what you have to offer. Now, you can still work on things on yourself. You should always be working on ways to offer more value. But you want it to be something that's aligned to your core. Something that you deeply resonate with, something that you connect to on a powerful level, or maybe a couple things that are outside that if you kind of want to push yourself. I think that could be fine too. But strength can usually only be built on a foundation of strength. If you're talking about something that's world class, that's usually not built on compensating for weaknesses. If I think of all the areas that I'm the most weak, and then I try to work on those to round myself out, I'll never get to the same financial level, connections level, relationships level, as if I just figure out exactly what I'm good at and if I build on strength. And when you build on strength, then you get to an elite level. And when you get to an elite level, you can dictate the terms. That's why earlier we were having that discussion about finding your purpose. That was the core idea of that, because as you find your purpose and you can double down on that and double down and double down and double down and keep pressing it, now you can actually take that exponentially and get paid a higher rate for what you're doing. You can set the terms, and you can build a life of your own design. The problem is we have this mechanism where we like what? Approval. We hate being rejected. We hate it. Think of the people that just didn't get you. Think of the people that discarded you. Often it's those exact people that we would want approval from the most. Meanwhile, the people who appreciate you, who do really like you, we can ignore. You see that? So we talked about how other people will do to you. What I'd ask you is, where are you doing that to other people? If I post a YouTube video as an example, and I get 100 people saying how great the video is, but one person is like, I mean, the things some of these people write is crazy. It's like the most out-to-lunch things. They're clearly not getting me. They clearly don't understand what I'm about. They don't know who I am. And who are they to say that? And so I could look at 100 great comments. What does my primitive caveman brain tell me to respond to? The 99 people that loved it, why would I waste energy responding to them? They already like me. Where should I put my energy, guys, in my primitive little mind from the caveman tribe from a million years ago? Where should I put the energy in? Who should I respond to?
Negative.
The troll. And you guys ever do that on your Instagram? There's one troll. You want to straighten them out, feed energy into them, give them your energy. You ever seen a troll get a response and they're like, wow, I'm sorry. I was trolling. I get it now. I totally understand you. And I think you are awesome. It's not likely to happen, right? If I'll respond to all my comments, I'll just try to respond to all of them equally and give somebody neutral if someone trolled. I'll just respond to all of them. But I gotta train myself, respond to the people who appreciate you. Likewise, when you build your core value proposition, you've got great value, great gravity, and great boundaries. The next step is to give appreciation to the people that appreciate you. Put time into them. Double down on those people. The idea of human beings is we can have what's called synergy, okay? Synergy basically just means that human beings are powerful because we're powerful together. We're one of the few species that can actually work together on things. And what happens is all these different people who think differently, they have different physical abilities, they have different mental abilities. When you can kind of lock in on what you're specifically good at, you can wire your brain to be good at that one thing. I don't need to learn how to program a website because some guy out there is putting as much effort into programming a website as I am into, say, public speaking. If that website programmer is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get like Owen with public speaking. It's not likely to get the same result because this is my area of focus for 20 years. So what's great about people is that we can actually become synergistic and interface with other people that have different abilities. I think the ultimate team in history ever is men and women because we can birth new life together. And there can be incredible support systems, and that can be a beautiful, beautiful thing when you can double down on each other, but it has to be the right person. Most relationships are a train wreck because people chase the wrong person who isn't into them. They're chasing an internet troll for their spouse. Let that sink in. You're trying to make your spouse the person who trolled you on your IG photo. And you wonder why it didn't work. Because that's human nature, is to get approval from the one person that doesn't get us. Rather than having a number of people, building your core value, having boundaries, and doubling down on those people who do get you. Now what happens when you do this, here's the key to it, is that you become a mini rock star. So this is something I'll point out to people when they take coaching with me. I'll joke about this with them. Sometimes I'll take guys out to work on social skills, and you know, there'll be a small group of us, and I'll say to them, you know what's funny, guys? You should realize this. It's kind of crazy to think about. If I were to, like, say someone's on one of my infield trainings, and it's $3,000 to be there, I'll say, you know what? Do you realize that every single person here who paid this money, that I could offer this course for free to everybody else in this venue, and nobody would take it? Not only that, I could say I'll give $300 to anybody to just sit in on this course, and in my infield trainings, also nobody would take it. Because they'd be like, I can't just follow you around for 3 days for only $300. I'm not doing it. The odd person would take it. So why is it that one person would pay $3,000, and yet that entire rest of the venue wouldn't even take what I have to offer for free?
They want what you're giving.
Because what I've done is I've done good, solid lead generation. I've put myself out there to the people who are interested in the general subject matter that I teach. Then what I've done is I've doubled down on you. Double down, double down, double down, double down. free videos, work on the content, work on the speaking. Look at all the lights in here, the cameras in here. Not cheap. Okay, why do I do it? So when you're watching it, you get a better experience. Work on my speaking skills. Work on everything for you. And then what happens is as I'm doing that, you're getting more invested, and then I get a crowd of people here. Once you've got a crowd of people around you, you dictate the terms. It's just the truth. But what if I was trying to please everybody? Then I couldn't meet your needs specifically. Because I'm trying to please everybody. I'm trying to be a generalist. And by trying to be a generalist, I'm not going to please everybody, and I'll never get anybody who really wants to invest. That's why even in social skills, when people ask me to teach them social skills, they want this exact technique or method, and I'm like, listen, we got to just zone in on the way you are. I want to fix the super weird and creepy stuff, but aside from that, we've got to get you at your best self, and you've got to be okay that not everybody likes you. You got to be okay with that. It's funny in the media, whenever they'll ask us questions about, like, what's your success rate with meeting people, as an example, and I'm like, I go out, I talk to everybody, the ones who like me, the ones who don't. I just meet a ton of people, whatever happens. It's so crazy. They're living in this world of approval seeking. Do you see at that mainstream consciousness level, the world of approval seeking and rejection avoidance they're living in? They're living in this nightmare, this perpetual nightmare of avoiding any kind of social rejection, because if that little trigger in their caveman or cavewoman mind gets set off, that they felt that feeling of rejection, it drives them crazy. So they're looking for this ultimate way to go meet somebody that is rejection proof. In order to open up your lead funnel and to be who you are, you have to be okay with social disapproval or rejection. It can't be that you went over a line and acted inappropriately or in a way that you shouldn't, but you have to be okay with general disapproval if you're being who you are. When you get okay with that, when you can be okay with that, it's like a surfer who's getting pushed under the waves. Look, imagine you're a surfer. You're going to try to take some crazy 20-foot wave, right? If you're terrified to get dumped under the wave, how are you going to surf? You're going to be what's called playing to not lose. Say that with me. Playing to not lose. Rather than doing it for joy, to win your purpose and what your intention is, you're playing to not lose. The average person who goes to talk to somebody is so afraid of losing their approval, they're completely playing to not lose. The only way that you will get approval for most people is when you don't care whether they like you or not. Because the second that you care, they detect agenda, and the second that they detect an agenda, they devalue you. So you never want to have an agenda. But how do you get rid of the agenda? You open up that lead base, you open up that input of leads, and as you're doing that, you're never in a needy position. And the optimal way of engaging with somebody is they're not needy, you're not needy, and you're having fun together because you both choose to. That's a great situation. So you've got to be thinking of how you're building the ecosystem, and the big thing, what I'd say about it, is that you have to always be auditing where you're doubling down. How are you utilizing your time? What are you doubling down on? I don't mind if you want to be aimless, if you want to procrastinate, if you want to have whacked out habits, doesn't matter to me. But it has to be something that feeds you. Look, there's two types of fun, okay? Let me put it to you this way. I truly believe that when you do something that really speaks to your soul, it's very recharging. Everybody needs to recharge. If even just watching some dumb YouTube videos gives you a break and lets you recharge, it's completely fine. There's no problem with it. But what I'd ask you is, are you actually recharging, or are you numbing yourself? And if you're numbing yourself, here's what can happen. And this is where it gets really sketchy, okay, with time off especially. Here's what can happen. At a certain point, taking time off, if you're doing something that really fills your spirit, that is a very, very great use of your time. You should absolutely do that. You're living life, right? You can't just be playing life to win it at some scoreboard, because someday you're going to die. Death is the ultimate equalizer. It means that you have to have a spiritually uplifting experience while alive, because no matter how much money you make, no matter how much you're winning, you're going to lose it all. So ultimately, your time has to be used for things that bring you joy. It has to be. The only counter argument to that is if you're doing some crazy thing to change the world, and you just are like, this is more meaningful to me to put all my time in this with no break at all, in which case, fine. I've lived periods of my life like that for sure. And that's fine, and that did uplift me. Probably took me down in other ways, complicated, but you know the point. At least in some way it did, in certain degrees. So when you're taking time off, here's what can happen though, okay? And this is where it gets really messed up. I see a lot of my friends do this. At some point, the time off is recharging you. But then what happens is you go past that, okay? It's like a cup, and the cup gets too full. And now the cup's kind of just spilling over aimlessly, and your other cups aren't getting filled. The feeling of accomplishment, the feeling of being on your purpose and whatnot, they're not getting filled. And so now what you have is a situation where you're actually losing self-esteem from taking too much time off, and you're feeling bad about yourself from taking too much time off. Guess what happens with a lot of people, whether it's, engaging in substance abuse or just aimless distraction and diversion. What do you think happens to them when they're feeling low self-esteem because they've been off their purpose too long, they haven't accomplished anything in too long, they're not doing things that really recharge them? What do they do to psychologically deal with the fact that they're not having that, more of it, right? Some people have said this to me, it's like, if I get too drunk, you wake up, you're depressed about getting drunk, what do? Drink more. You have a weed habit, maybe you smoke a little weed, it's actually kind of fun with your friends. Then you get to the point where you're smoking so much weed, your life's not moving forward. And you hate yourself. So what do you do to deal with the fact that you hate yourself for smoking too much weed? How do you deal with that? Smoke more weed. Which means that your life is getting further and further off. You can see how with harder drugs like heroin, crack cocaine, meth, you wake up out of the high off that, and your life is such a mess that all you can think of is to take more of it. Because one, you're physically addicted. But two, your life has become such a train wreck that you just don't want to think about it. But every time you double down on, say, meth, which I'm pretty sure no one here has ever done meth, but if you have, that's kind of awesome too. Because I kind of wish I could know what that feels like, but I'm not going to do it until I'm older. When I'm like 90, I want to do meth for sure. I'm doing it all, man. Like when they give me that like fatal diagnosis, like for sure we're doing the heroin, for sure we're doing meth. I'm going to get the toothbrush out, I'm going to clean my house. Why are you guys laughing at me, man? If you're dead, you're dead. You should do it. But I'm not dead yet. I don't have a fatal diagnosis yet. I just hope I don't get in a car accident so that I don't get to try meth. I'm going to be so pissed that I don't get to try that. But again, I'm doing that when there's like 3 weeks left. So, I don't know if I will or not. I mean, I'm so much in the habit of not doing it, but like, it could be pretty cool. So anyway, look. Point being is you double down, right? So look, meth is an extreme example, but where are the more casual examples where you're using having fun to medicate the fact that your life's not moving forward? So if you're having fun, yes, do it. You always want to make time to go for dinner with your friends, to bond, to go explore, to travel. You got to do that. Those things give you joy. But then once you fill that cup up, now you've got to get back on your purpose, or you've got to accomplish something, or do whatever else feeds you. Then you're going to hit a point where you're accomplishing enough that now it's almost like there's no rubber on the tires anymore. And now you got to go take a break and feed your spirit with something else. I don't necessarily view work and play as one is better than the other. I just think that most people are overworked and most people hate their work. And that's where the whole like, thank God it's Friday mindset comes from, is that I think they're kind of tapped out on work that they also don't like. And that's where that comes from. So a lot of this ultimately comes down to auditing yourself and really zeroing in. And there's a lot of different factors as a human being that you've got to be aware of, because we're really not taught this in high school. We're really not raised with this, and most of us have very faulty software. The average person is more worried about gossip that they're getting about them, or getting approval, or they're mad about someone who didn't approve of them, or they're doubling down into relationships and situations that are actually becoming a death spiral for them. They're in a very, very weird headspace. And unfortunately, we become like the people who we hang out with. So something that I do, funny enough, is I hang out with a big range of people. And I really try to hang out with people that are different from me and that will challenge me for the way that I am. So I'll hang out with people that are making thousands of times more money than I am. And that will challenge me to step up in business. But I'll also hang out with people that are way more relaxed than I am. I like to be around people that are really peaceful, that maybe aren't working on their professional life, but maybe are just having fun. And that really feeds me because it reminds me there's more than one way to live life. So I try to be very humble and to learn from everybody. Like I feel like I learned just as much from that multimillionaire, or even I'm lucky to know even some billionaire business owners. I don't know exactly how they calculate their net worth, but you get the idea. I'm lucky to hang out with them. Some of them are actually fans of this stuff, which is super cool. But I also will hang out with like regular friends of mine that just know how to have a great time. And when I'm all tired from work and I'm like, and I'll they're having fun, and I'll kind of walk over to hang out with them, and I'm like, I'm a little god. I just want the precious, and they're like, we don't need the precious. We're the precious. And I'm like, you don't need the precious? Like, there's a world outside of hustling and grinding. And they're like, yeah, I don't hustle and grind that much. Shit's cool. Things are cool. And I'm like, wait a minute, oh yeah. And then you get reminded. So you want to surround yourself with complementary people who will stretch you and challenge you and influence you. A lot of my friends that run really big businesses, they'll see me working in the business, not on the business. And at my age, at the phase that I'm in, I should be working on the structure of the business rather than working in the business. When you're younger, you want to be working in the business. You got to be laboring more. When you're older, you've got to be setting up systems. And it's hard when you love an area of the business, right? You love it, you want to do it, but you're not going to move ahead. So I've got older business friends, their business might do $100 million a year in revenue, and they'll look at me and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, this is really productive what I'm doing. And they're like, stop, this is ridiculous. I'm like, this is productive, I'm hustling, I'm grinding. Like, no, you're not. You're a hostage in your own company. And I have many areas that I've done that because I'm not building systems. When I was younger, that was the right move. I was building work ethic. Now I've got to take that work ethic and take what I've built and systematize it more, right? So that's great influence. But I have other friends of mine that are so chill, they're so relaxed, they'll look at me all stressed and they just look at me like I'm a space alien. And I need that because the problem is my friend that makes that $100 million a year in revenues business will feed me being that workaholic. They'll enable me. They'll tell me I should work even more. And if I listen only to them, what's my life going to look like? My life's going to pass me by. I'm not going to experience the joy that I should have. What if I got in a car accident that same day that I was miserably just grinding something out? So your life experience, you want it to be very diverse. You want to be challenged by mentors, but also by other peers, or even people that might be behind you, but have other areas where they're actually locked in on, and you want to be stretched. They say that proximity is power. You want to be around people that just by being around them, you'll raise your standards, but that standard can't be what? Oversimplified metrics. You guys remember earlier when I said say the word oversimplified metrics? You remember that? Okay, when Julian was here? Say it with me. Oversimplified metrics. Don't buy into the whole, whoever dies with the most toys wins kind of mentality. No, when you're dead, you're just dead. Okay? Whoever had the most fulfilling life and got the most juice out of life won. Money is one metric. Going to the gym is one metric. Relationships is one metric. Having fun and joy is one metric because all of it is valuable, all of it. So you've got to balance it out. Ultimately, though, again, like I said, you've got to audit it. And without somebody to kind of take you through that process of what your life is looking like, the problem is, and here's where it goes sideways, this is where it gets really messed up. How many years do you think you can waste doubling down into a relationship that's not going anywhere? You ever seen a man or woman double down into a partner to try to please them for years and it never goes anywhere? You can lose decades doing that. How many decades could you lose on the wrong career that you shouldn't have been in? How many decades could you waste on the wrong friendship or business relationship? How many decades can you waste in leisure when you could have been moving forward in some career because, yeah, it was leisure, it was cool, but it wasn't really filling you up spiritually. At a certain point, you would have had more inner fulfillment if you would have actually accomplished more. How many years can you wait grinding it out, but not having as much fun as you should? I've noticed there's many cases where you'll see these 55-year-old business owners, and you say to them, what's your biggest lesson? And they're like 55, 57, and they all say the same thing. They're like, man, I should have enjoyed life more. It took them till they're 55 years old. And when you're a business owner, a lot of time that's like you live to like 56. Like Steve Jobs was gone at 57, right? They're so stressed. It's like in the last inning of a 9-inning game, they're like, wait a minute, I got to enjoy the journey here. So you need people to call you out. Notice too how earlier what we talked about is finding your purpose, finding what you're good at, and how much more income you can make when you do that, as opposed to wasting your time. So you need to be around great mentors, you need to be around the right people, and you need to be consciously deciding what you want to do. You remember, again, the earlier part of the seminar, I said, I don't care if you want to spend your life eating Cheetos and whacking off in your basement, but you've got to consciously choose what you're doing. What percentage of your life do you think you're consciously deciding what you're doing or really metricizing or auditing? What do you think? For most of you, I'd say about 15 to 25%. There's probably 75, 85 part of your life that you've never even really looked at or considered what you're doing. And the end consequence of that is a lot of health problems. It'll probably kill you earlier. Most people don't die from an anthrax attack or a plane crash or a shark. Okay, if I get eaten by a shark, cheer me on. I would be so happy. I would be the happiest man. Aside that I didn't get to try meth, I will be the happiest man in the world if I get eaten by a shark. I will be so happy if I die in a plane crash. Because you want to know how something like 90% of us in this room are going to die? Heart disease, cancer, stroke, self-induced diabetes, and like a stroke. Yeah, so it's basically just boring stuff. It's going to be really boring. It's not going to be this cool-ass shark. It's not going to be this awesome plane crash. It's just going to be in a bed as you slowly degenerate, okay? That's what most of us are going to have. That's the real truth. I mean, you know they talk about fake news? Here's fake news. Look at all the threats they poke on in the news. Why are they not talking about the real threat, which is cancer, heart disease, diabetes, stroke? Why don't they bring that up? Boring. It's uninteresting. And so literally some guy's sitting there pumping down Cheetos, drinking a beer, dying, but he's freaking out about the local shark. And that's most of society. And you'll never get called out on it. It's so crazy. But you'll never get called out because it's not a part of culture to call that out. It's not interesting enough. It's not incentivized in our news media to talk about that stuff. Super rare. This is what's funny. Self-help can get a reputation of people being seminar junkies and being low level. But in reality, every single rich person I know is part of mastermind groups. Every single rich person I know takes self-development courses. Every single rich person I know has probably read the same 100 or 200 books. A couple guys that haven't, they're like, I don't read, and I'm proud of that. Okay, good for you. There's a couple people like that. It's cool. Gary Vaynerchuk, I think he says he doesn't like to read. Good for him, man. And it seems to be working. But for most of us, we're going to be avid readers. We're going to attend educational trainings. We're going to be part of mastermind groups. Because in truth, if you don't have other people keeping you in check, you will descend to the lowest common denominator. You want to be around people that are pushing you, stretching you. You want a counsel of the right people, and you want to have those experiences. And when you do, this kind of stuff that needs to be metricized will come naturally. And what's funny is life can look so different. Life can look amazing, where you accomplish a lot, get the friends you want, the relationships you want, you're in the zone with your work, you're healthy, you're not getting sick very much or at all. I can't make that claim because apparently that's impossible without antibiotics. It's great, right? That's another 5-day freaking seminar. But anyway, okay, you can be at a point where you don't have a lot of social anxiety. You can be at a point where you're connecting with people without fear of rejection and expressing yourself freely and being who you are. Or you can spend your life unhealthy, struggling financially, not in your strength zone, years going by, placating people, lacking boundaries, and decades can go by like this. So you need to be auditing yourself and educating yourself and getting around the right people. Proximity is power. You've got to be getting around the right people and getting this in check. Everybody who I know who's successful is doing this. Very, very, very rare when I see somebody not doing this. And what's cool about it is that as you start to buy into this concept, what winds up happening is it becomes an upward spiral. You take those first few leads, maybe you come to an event like this, you take another step forward and it starts compounding. And you'll start to separate from the pack. And your friends at first will kind of give you, this is the big thing in self-development. Your friends will give you a hard time about it initially because they feel like they're losing you. But in fact, you're becoming your best self. It freaks them out. And then you've got to go past that freak out point of your friends. And later, when you become your full self or much on that journey, they'll come back and be like, oh, I had your back the whole time. It's always like that. They always come back and they always are the ones placating. It'll get to the point where when they see you, their hands are shaking. All those same people that criticize you for working on yourself will see you hands shaking, sending you these essay-long text messages about why you should hang out with them and how they're your real friend and the only person that really gets the real you from back in the day. And then all these new people don't get the real you and then they do, and that's why you should hang out with them. They have nothing else to bring to the table, so they'll pull that card. And it's completely predictable, which is fine, go hang out with them. But just be aware of it. And that's called breaking out of the pack, okay? So the way that I want to live my life is I really worked hard on social skills for many years. I worked very, very hard on my public speaking, my ability to engage. It's really fun for me to be able to just make a quick video, put it out, get a couple 100,000 views, get people engaging with us, doing business with us. It's a joy. And for that reason, that's why I love teaching it. So thank you guys very much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. Thanks, guys. Thank you.